Thank you for joining us today. This is Worth the Admission podcast. I'm B. Frank.
And I'm Travis.
And here we talk about basically anything we want, but mainly movies.
For the most part. Maybe some TV. We mix it up on this podcast. It's been a while. I think we should address that first elephant in the room, not Dumbo. This is the first one. It's been a while. I think we got right to the end of True Detective, right? Just before the season finale. And then life happened. And so
yeah, a lot of life at once. What do you think of the finale, since we haven't even talked about it ourselves, I don't think?
No, we haven't. I enjoyed it, because usually you and I watch it together, and then we podcast about it. You know, that's the best way for us to refresh and bounce things off each other. And it was weird, because this is the one I really want to download all of that information with you about. We never got a chance to do it. But for the most part, I enjoyed it. I liked how it wrapped up. Obviously, the viewer in me wants to be very frustrated when, obviously, spoiler alert, he figures everything out and he gets to the driveway and he
then forgets it all.
And it just, in your mind, you're screaming at the TV, just remember. But I think that
it's not going to happen.
Yeah, but it worked out best. And I think the view we got off of that last episode, I was happy with the season. I wish Mahershala Ali could be in everything because I think he's just that great. But overall, I enjoyed the season. It had a lot of fun. I enjoyed the first one. The second one, not so much with Vince Vaughn. But this season, I really got into a lot more. And I think this took us on more of a windy road with character development.
Well, I think it was easier too, podcasting about it, just because I know I watched the episodes at least 2 times a piece, if not 3 on some of them.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I dug it as well. I thought it was well done. I thought it was a well done season. I as well thought that the ending was bittersweet because everybody else knows but them. And you hit that moment of, in the end, she was okay. And that's what really matters.
Yeah, and I like, because there was so much uncertainty about her. We only see her one bit in that scene. Really, the only scene we see her in as grown up is go running through the grocery store. That's all the bit we get to see about her, and all the conclusions that they make us make up in our mind about where she is and what she's doing. It was nice for it to take that turn to know that she was safe, and it looked like it really didn't impede or affect her life as much as we thought it would. You know, it looked like she was able to live a normal, healthy life. And it was really cool to see that interaction at the end with them two together.
Well, I think that's something, too, that in order for the viewer to be okay with that ending, I think Wayne has to realize that, okay, she is alive, she has been okay this entire time, and then has to forget about it, because if you think about it, you don't want to be Julie having your past catch up with you. So I thought it was a good way to show both sides, show that she's okay, but not bring the past back at the same time.
Oh, yeah, because they brought you to that line. We were at that line where they meet, and that's about as close as you could have gotten. And I enjoyed it. I think that you're right. That actually was a nice way. And I like how we had so much mystery with the man with the black man with the glass eye. And we end up learning so much more about him at the end, about how he was just trying to help her. And that scene at the table. And I thought that was very powerful. And I liked how that set up a lot of where that last bit of the episode went.
The thing is since, I think episode 2, we kind of figured that we knew that Hoyt was going to play a big part. We just didn't know how or when. And then in that final episode, we see basically all of it.
Were you surprised on who Hoyt was?
Yeah, as far as who played him, I thought it was a nice little surprise, though, because it was quick. You know, it's such a big actor for such a quick part, and so it was a nice little surprise.
I really enjoyed that. I just thought that was a kind of cool little touch that he could just be in for, I think he was on screen for maybe 7 or 8 minutes, just in that car ride and that talk, and that was it, and he was out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of cool. I like that. But now that we're done with this, we've got less than 2 weeks to go for Game of Thrones, which I know you are prepared for.
I'm so excited.
I am not. Not at all. Not even a little bit. I've been watching so many other things.
I've done my rewatch.
I just forgot.
I've done my rewatch all the way through season 7, and then my buddy lost a bet that the Patriots weren't going to win the Super Bowl. Sad. And
Oh, I know.
his bet was he had to watch Game of Thrones, and he didn't really want to because he's like, I'm not really a fantasy guy, and he actually has ended up liking it. And so I've rewatched season 7 with him, and we're going to finish the finale a couple days before the season starts, so he's got a couple days to stew.
So I got a question for you, because I've heard stuff online about you need to rewatch season 1, you need to rewatch season 7, you need to rewatch it all. I'd feel we don't need to watch it all, but I've heard the most important stuff has come out of season 1. That's all just what I've heard. Is that true? I mean, is that where we need to focus on? Because I want to go in. Obviously, I'll rewatch season 7 because I want to be caught up just with where the story is, just in a general place. But is it necessary to rewatch the whole thing, or can I just rewatch that, just season 1? Like, what I've been hearing is, what to focus on.
The thing is a show like this it's so well interweaved. Every episode is a part of that season and the whole show in various ways. I mean, in the first episode, in the pilot, you hear one of the ladies talk about a person who swapped faces like clothes, that the wax burned Daenerys' brother, things like that don't really seem important right now, end up coming back later on, kind of like Gendry. And so I think rewatching season 7 would be fine, but there might be little things that you could go, oh, all right, I get it. So I'd say at least rewatch season 7.
You're the one I lean on, though. You're the guy I lean on, though. So when I don't know those small things, I look towards you because I know you'll know. You're like my encyclopedia of just, I guess, random movie knowledge and TV knowledge in general. Not just Game of Thrones.
I've got a lot of time on my hands.
A little bit of time.
And with less than 2 weeks at this point, I'd say it's almost impossible for you to start from the pilot and work your way up. So I'd say rewatch season 7, because the finale of 6 kind of ended a lot of storylines. So I think you'd be fine with season 7. At least get the main points.
Well, speaking of Game of Thrones, let's swap it up a little bit. What about the runtimes? I saw they've confirmed those runtimes of what I think of basically an hour and 20 minutes for the last 4 episodes.
Yeah, the first 2 were 60 minutes, and then the last 4 are 80 minutes. So that's pretty solid for Game of Thrones. We're basically getting 4 movies after 4 regular episodes. And the 3rd episode is the Battle of Winterfell. Battle for Winterfell, I think, is the actual title. And that battle is supposedly the biggest filmed battle in TV or movie history. Bigger than the Battle of Helm's Deep in Lord of the Rings.
Wow.
And the guy that directed Battle of the Bastards and the Battle of Hardhelm, when we first get to meet the actual Night King, he is the one who directed that 3rd episode too. So we're going to get a hell of a good middle battle even, which is crazy.
Well, that is smart though. Bring in the guy who knows what he's doing, and he's done those other bigger battles for the finale. But didn't I hear it took 55 days to shoot or something like that?
It took 55
There was some
nights.
really long number.
55
Really?
nights over 11 weeks.
Man,
yeah, Kit Harington said that on an interview
TV.
with Stephen Colbert. Oh yeah, he said it sucked a lot, which I believe it.
Yeah, but that's that final push. That's that final. It's the final season. This is your time. I mean, nothing's being held back now.
Last game of the season, Brett. Can't hold anything back now. Yeah, I'm excited for Game of Thrones. Honestly, anybody who watches Game of Thrones is excited, so it's kind of normal to say that. But if you're getting ready for it too,
I am. How about this? I will start watching tonight because the wife and I need something to watch. So I'm pretty sure we can catch up on season 7. She's a big Game of Thrones fan too, so this is one of these shows where you have to pay attention. There's a lot of shows where you can get the gist of what's going on. In a show like this that's so intricate, if you fall behind, you're really going to be left behind.
That's what I told my mom too. She's actually watching it for the first time, and she bought the books, which is not her usual style of book. Funny enough, though, speaking of her, Nosferatu. It's a new TV show based on, it's spelled NOS, number 4, A, number 2, and it's written by Stephen King's son, Joe Hill.
Really? Okay, what's it on?
It's on AMC, and it's supposed to be pretty dark, pretty weird and creepy, kind of like his dad. But every book that she's recommended that I watch a TV show on, I haven't been disappointed, so I'm going to watch that because she told me all about the book.
No, that actually sounds pretty interesting. My thing is, I stopped watching The Walking Dead, and so I don't go to AMC anymore. You know, I don't really engage with anything on that network too much. I mean, I was Breaking Bad fan, and I was Walking Dead fan for so long. I like comic book men. But, I mean, they got rid of a lot of shows, and, I mean, there hasn't been anything in a while that's really jumped out on their network other than just The Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead.
They had Into the Badlands as well, but
that's
they
right.
canceled
Yeah, that one's there too.
I'll check it out. Honestly, The Walking Dead's last 2 episodes of this season were pretty intense. They were really good. I'm excited for next season. Even without Rick, they've done a pretty good job.
I've heard the last couple episodes have been good. To me, there's too much TV, and when something lags off and you jump off it or you lose interest, it's hard to jump back on. You know, that's kind of why you have shows like Arrow that are ending, and unfortunately, like Supernatural, which we'll get to. We'll shed a tear. We'll pour one out for it. We'll talk about it. But I mean, that's why a lot of these shows are going away. The quality's dropped off.
Well, the quality, especially on Arrow, the last 2 seasons have not been good, really. I didn't like last season at all, and the first half of season 7 was good, but this last half so far has been god-awful. I haven't even liked the last 2 episodes, which is saying something for me.
Yeah, because even with the CW shows, you give them a shot. I remember Arrow was before that, the shirtless, very all-attractive cast that you see now. When it was kind of flying the flag before there was really anything else out there that they were trying to do superhero-wise. Now you've got the stuff on Netflix that Marvel does and what Marvel had on TV before, and you have so many of these DC TV shows now, even the ones that are on their streaming service. Mm-hmm. But this was one of the originals. Yeah, we can talk about Smallville, but to me, Smallville was a different time, even before what Arrow was. It was a whole decade difference, but just the way it led into the shows that we like now, like The Flash. I mean, I'm still a big Flash fan. It started this whole revolution of, on CW, of all these comic book shows being made, which was fun. I enjoyed it. I just feel we might be getting to the point where if they're not of the highest quality, they may not be sticking around as long as we want them to.
I know Stephen Amell was saying that he was ready to move the character on, like kind of end his character so that he could move on to other things. And I get it, especially with these last 2 seasons. It sucks to see it have fallen so far. Supernatural, I mean, I know every season by heart at this point, and so once it's concluded, like I knew it was going to happen at some point. Everything ends, and honestly, I've been saying it since season 8. Season 8 was the first time Sam expressed interest in wanting to not hunt anymore, and I was like, okay, they're going to close the series soon. 10 is probably the next. It's going to be the last season, just because you got to go 5, 10, 15. Otherwise, it seems like it was canceled instead of ended.
And from me, who's not a fan of Supernatural, know how much of a following it has. Not even just how obnoxious you are about the show, because I know you are diehard as diehard can be on it. But 15 seasons is such a long time. I mean, you're right. You shouldn't be upset about it. You get to walk away, and it seems like you're still enjoying the show. You still tune in, as it is. You can see, even after as many seasons as The Walking Dead has had, I've already lost interest. It's hard to keep people's interest and grow a fan base into almost a cult following at this point for Supernatural.
The thing is they've built such a big and wide world that it's possible that they try and spin it off into something else, and if they move it into like a Hunter School or Men of Letters Like, if they move something that way, I'd be fine. But the other thing is also, how do you end it? Because you can't just kill them because they've died so many times. I think what would be cool is God comes down and says, your work here is done. You have no more work. You know, and then they get to go to heaven and we get to see them with the family. That something like that I think would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, you know the show way more than I do. I don't know anything about the show, so I couldn't tell you. If they can't die, then obviously you can't do that. I think a retirement would be kind of cool. You don't really get to see a lot of shows where people walk away. It's always someone dies or an impossible situation.
Yeah, but that's the thing is they've tried to walk away before and it just doesn't work. So I think something has to happen to where they are no longer able to hunt. And I think the best way for that is just to take them to a place where they don't have to, but that they feel comfortable leaving this place for.
I can see that. But there's too much TV. They're trying to push too many things out. And a show like that, which had its run, I'm sure is very expensive to produce now.
The thing is, too, is there are so many options for TV shows now that you really have to choose your time wisely. Because for someone like me who happens to have that time at work and can watch it, cool. But if I didn't, it would be a lot harder to make a decision. Because you've got DC stuff, you're going to have the Disney stuff soon, and then you've got everything else, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon. They're all producing good things, and now you're trying to figure out what the best show to watch is. Which, this summer is going to be Stranger Things.
Well, I have a question, though. With things like the DC streaming service, are they going to do kind of what Netflix did and with Disney, the Disney streaming service, where they don't really want their stuff that's not, if it's DC, do they don't want it on network TV? Do they want to keep it for themselves? Could you see that trend happening with them ending The Flash and things like that? Or do you think CW will keep a hold of them? Or they'll want them to be on CW?
I think they'll want them to be on CW just because they're still planning on making the Flash movie with Ezra Miller, despite all of its issues. So because of that, I think if you take the Flash off the CW, especially with now taking Supernatural off, you're going to have to fully rebuild a fan base. And anybody who's not Grant Gustin right now playing the Flash, nobody's going to really be hyped for, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, he fits that character so well. I think that's why I enjoy the show as much as I do. I think it's just a very well casted show. And the way they write that show just makes it seems like such a team in unity. I enjoy it. It's one of the shows that I try and keep up with as much as possible, because in this day and age, when it's episodic and you have to wait a week, it's tough. A lot of times it's just much easier to binge watch a season. At
the same time, it can be easier to need to watch it week by week because, one, it commits to memory more because you have a week to stew on it and wonder what's going to happen next, instead of just binging 8 episodes today, like I did with Hannah. And Santa Clarita Diet this weekend.
Oh, how was Hannah?
Hannah was good. It was very good. Not as action-packed as I thought, but it had good action, and the story was really good. 8 episodes, hour apiece.
That was one I know they put it up for 24 hours right after the Super Bowl, or during the Super Bowl, where they wanted people to try it out. And I didn't get a chance to within that 24 hours, so I knew it was coming out. I didn't know it was out yet. That's one I was excited to see because Amazon doesn't usually have a lot of stuff that piques my interest. I mean, I like things like the Grand Tour and I like car shows and things like that. Mm-hmm. So there was that aspect, but for a lot of their other TV shows, I liked Jack Reacher or Jack Ryan?
Jack Ryan was really good.
They have a couple of good TV shows, but a lot of it is just more things that don't reach out to my like levels, that just pique my interest. So, no, I was just curious on how that was.
Have you watched this? I imagine you've watched the Stranger Things trailer.
I haven't watched it recently. I have watched it, yes, but I have not watched it recently.
I'm really excited for that. That was it was such a good trailer, and the music, if they have that music in the season as well, then I don't think they can go wrong. I mean, I wouldn't expect them to.
There's so much stuff coming out. I mean, I've been on Netflix so much lately. let's get into a couple of their movies because you know me. I have a kid. I work. It's hard to get to the movies and
Wait,
do anything.
you have a kid?
I do. He's going to be a year. He's going to be a year in like 26 days. It's crazy.
That's insane.
That's blowing my mind a little bit. Back to Netflix. Netflix has stepped up their game. You know, I don't know where you want to start. I mean, we can talk the most recent ones. You've got The Highwaymen. You've got The Dirt, Dirt, and the other one is Triple Frontier. I think those were the three big movies that you have a lot of people talking about right now. I mean, there's so many other things, but these are the ones that have big actors. I mean, that cast for Triple Frontier is stacked, in my opinion.
I think they utilize them very well also. Like, having that many people and sharing that amount of screen time, I think was done well. I think the ending was better than many of their previous movies, but I felt it still lacked a little bit.
I 100% agree.
I couldn't really put my finger on why, but I still had that feeling.
So for this podcast, this next part, we're going to go spoiler. So if you haven't watched the movie, go watch it or pause it because we're going to talk about it. Because I do want to get into some parts of the movie that I liked, I didn't like, and where I thought the story turned or could have been better. Because I agree with you. I thought the first half of that movie was fantastic. I was in and more in a way that I thought I'd been on any kind of Netflix movie before. Because I think a lot of times I've been disappointed, and this one I felt was different. And it was. It wasn't as good as I hoped it would be. But so we're going to talk spoilers on this.
I think it switched. Like, the first half of the movie was good, and I think the moment that it switched was the unrealistic manner in which Ben Affleck's character was so gung-ho about taking all the money. Like, I understand from his family side, but it didn't feel like it was in his character. I feel like his character would have been like, no, we can't take this. We need to shed it.
They brought him in because he was an expert. And they talked about his list of what he did. And then for him not to know what the flyweight was and having to drop loads and drop the cash and things like that would never happen. I think, if anything, you could have made multiple trips, something along those lines, for something that was, I think, for someone who thinks the way they do, that very, military, quick thinking, very precise way of thinking, you'd be able to figure out something than just, I'm going to take all the money, just keep loading into bags. It kind of ruined it for me, but I will say, that point where they go into the house to steal the money and just the pure tension that because you really didn't know what was going to happen. That was a really good scene. Yeah, because, spoiler alert, it doesn't happen right away, but Ben Affleck dies, but you see him so much in the trailer. So when I kind of got guided in a little bit differently the way the story goes, I was in so much more deeper. Because really you didn't know what was going to happen. When you think about it, when you're going back, you go, wow. I mean, the twists and turns that you go through, especially when the second convoy comes back from church and you weren't expecting them yet, and they were there early, on top of them being late trying to get the extra stuff out and them having the firefight and them trying to execute and go in, I thought was just fascinating. And then just the realization that the house was the money and the house was the safe, and I thought that was really cool. I liked the last part of the movie. I just thought it transferred too much too soon with greed. Oh, we're going to do it for family and brotherhood. It just... Yeah,
it was a hard shift.
I didn't get the payoff. Yeah, Ben Affleck died, and I thought his death at that time, the way they handled it was they lived it, they very much in that moment. You watched it from that existential point of view where you're just like, oh crap, this dude, oh shit, he just died. Then you realize about the predicament they're in. You go, wow, now they have to get themselves all the way down off this mountain to the coast, which is, is the impossible task and isn't going to happen. It just felt like within 10 minutes we went from that to, let's just hold each other's hands and walk down the mountain.
I agree with that. Again, it was good. It was a good movie, but it still lacked in some places. I think if Netflix can keep it going on this type of track. Now, I haven't seen Dirt or Highwaymen yet. I've heard Dirt is good, but very different than Bohemian Rhapsody. Like, if you're looking to compare those.
I will just say this about Dirt. It was one movie where I thought it was fascinating, and the way it was done, presented, I thought if you could have mixed the story of Bohemian Rhapsody with kind of the way they did Dirt, it would have worked out better. Because I didn't like the way Bohemian Rhapsody was structured. Now, The Dirt is a very crude movie. There's no way about it. They put you in the life of Motley Crue. And though, yes, it wasn't executed as well as I thought it would, I mean, you gotta think, the guy who directed this is the guy from Jackass. He's one of the producers of Dick House and all of them and that production house. So it's them. I listened to a podcast with him talking just so much about how it took so much time to, he was a fan and wrote a book, and then the book became the movie, and all of this kind of happened, and getting the approval to do everything was very fascinating. But at the end of the day, as fascinating as that is, the movie was just okay. I thought it was okay shot, but I enjoyed it. It was a good watch. Just know going in that if it's not for kids, definitely. I mean, just in the first scene alone, it's not for kids. Just know that if you're offended easily, you're going to be offended because it's a very hard and harsh look. And I thought the second half of that movie was very hard to stomach, the real life struggle, which I won't go into detail. You'll watch it, but I thought it did a very good job of balancing it back out. I just didn't think it was done. It wasn't an Oscar winner, but it was enjoyable.
Now, I've also heard that The Highwaymen is really good. I haven't watched it yet. I plan on watching it sometime this week, but I've heard good things.
I only got about a half an hour in, and I enjoy it so far. Very much so a period piece. You know, they really do very accurate, and so far it's a regular Netflix movie to me. You know, it's very well acted. I mean, a little bit better acted. I mean, you do get Woody Harrelson, Kathy Bates is in it, Kevin Costner's in it. It's got a really good cast. So I would look forward to it. I haven't fully watched it, so that's one I'm going to get to this weekend. Well, I guess we'll discuss it on the next episode. I got one other TV show I want to talk to you about, and then I want to get into a movie that we both have seen, and I am finally caught up on all the Marvel movies. I have seen Captain Marvel. Woo! No?
Woo!
Oh, yeah. Thanks for that.
It's okay. They're cheering. They're cheering on the outside.
I feel it in my heart. But I would like to go over that movie because now I've seen everything and I'm caught up. So I really want to divulge. You're more the expert. Again, I don't get to see these movies as much as you do. So I've only seen Infinity War, even though it's on Netflix. I've only seen it, probably 2 or 3 times. And I haven't seen a lot of the other movies in a while. So, I felt lost at some parts, but I enjoyed it, but we'll get into that. I'm almost done with the first episode, but Twilight Zone. I'm a big fan, and I've been a big fan. I love the originals. It's something that I just happened to watch on TV when I was a kid, and I just kind of grew from there. And to see them bringing it back, I was a little leery when they did, but to see who they brought along with them to create this,
it's a big cast. And obviously wonderful. Jordan Peele's a big producer too.
Oh, the fact that he really jumps in with it, and I feel the style, even in watching kind of how it was produced, I feel that general style of Get Out, even in just the way it's presented. I know it's not fully done by him, but him having his hand on how he wants it to be, how he wants it to come across,
presented.
It definitely fits his wheelhouse.
The first episode, The Comedian, was good. That's was the one different. I watched. I knew going in, I'd seen a couple episodes here and there of the old one. There was time now. But I knew that it was an anthology type of series. Every episode is different. And so I wasn't quite prepared for the weirdness of it. But it leaned into that very well. And I think the second episode was better, just overall. But I thought that they were still both good episodes.
Yeah, I'm going to watch that second one. And it's just one of those shows I don't get too excited on remakes nowadays ever. But getting a chance to sit down and watch this, I was really pleasantly surprised. I am very excited to continue watching as well, too.
I was surprised also. I thought the whole season was going to come out at once, and it just was the first 2 episodes. So I'm happy that it's week by week. And it's also, because it's an anthology, each week you don't have to remember something from the previous week. So it's nice.
Now, when it comes to things like Black Mirror and now you have Twilight Zone, I mean, I know they're 2 different things, but what do you prefer? I know it's still so soon with Twilight Zone, but now seeing it's from such a big name versus seeing the popularity is what made Black Mirror so good, and it just continued to get better. To me, it's 2 different things, but it's still very, very similar.
I think it's hard to compare them specifically because one is about just crazy weird things happening, and then you have Black Mirror that relies a lot upon different technologies of some sort. And so you have kind of the future side and the if this happened today type of side. Honestly, I think you could pop back and forth. If you wanted to watch an episode of this and then watch an episode of that, I think you have that capability because in your mind, you're automatically going to know this is Black Mirror, this is Twilight Zone. But if you like one, I think you'll like the other. Which
I do. It's kind of nice. That's kind of one of the toys in the toy box I really like, and we don't get enough of. And it's kind of nice that we got something like a Twilight Zone. I think with as big as a cast and a creator and our producer that we could get, I'm excited. That's one of the fun things with TV. I mean, you're more of a Game of Thrones person. You know, I like
The Bachelor.
I like my wife likes The Bachelor. I didn't watch the rest of the season. I actually stopped watching. I do like Bachelor in Paradise though.
I'm proud of you.
No, Bachelor in Paradise is the best one.
Okay.
We're gonna sit down and watch a season. No, we're gonna watch a season together now.
Bullshit.
We're gonna come back with a Bachelor report too. I want to talk to you about Captain Marvel. This is I know you saw it opening night, but obviously with life and busy everything, it's hard to get to the movies as often as I get to. But I finally got to take it in, and I really enjoyed it. It was different in every way, and it still felt the same, but it was still great. You know, I still left with a smile on my face.
I liked it as well. It had a different feel to the movie altogether.
It almost felt like a mix of Iron Man 1 and like the feel of how the movie went versus how they make the movies feel nowadays, where it's a completely different swap. I feel like I got the lightheartedness, and it wasn't trying to take itself as serious, but I feel like any of the action moments, I was sucked right back into that Marvel, you know, their foolproof plan.
I did like the movie. It felt different, but I thought that it worked for the movie. My main question leaving the theater was, how did the Tesseract end up in Mar-Vell's possession? Because after Cap 1, we see a scene with Howard pulling it out of the ocean. And then at the end of Thor, you see Fury present the Tesseract to Dr. Selvig, and he says Howard Stark pulled this out of the ocean. After seeing Captain Marvel, it's possible that he just wants to keep Captain Marvel away. Like, he doesn't want people to know about her, so he just said that Howard Stark took it. I also think it's possible Howard Stark took it to the SSR and then ended up with Mar-Vell and the army and stuff like that. But slight continuity error until further explained.
Look at you. You've thought of everything.
But the Tesseract alone has been the biggest recurring thing in Marvel movies is from an Infinity Stone standpoint. And even when we first saw it in Captain America, the first Avenger, it opens a portal to space and tells you that it's the Space Stone from the beginning. I thought that was pretty funny. I'm doing my Marvel rewatch right now.
How far are you into it?
I watched the Avengers the other day. I'm kind of taking it slow, but I've got 3 weeks. Finally.
Are you gonna go? I'm gonna go see it opening weekend. I am gonna go see it opening weekend.
See it in IMAX.
Probably not opening day, but
see it in IMAX.
Of course.
You have to see it in IMAX.
Why would I not see it in IMAX?
Because you're a crazy person.
Get out of here.
When I heard that it was 3 hours and 2 minutes, I got really excited because ever since the trailer started coming out, I'm like, it's got to be longer than 2.5 hours. There's so much that they're packing in, and they crossed the 3 hour threshold.
Did you watch the new teaser that they brought out this morning or during the day?
Yes, with the ticket announcement. I loved it. So one, it was nice seeing them all together.
Yes.
Like just kind of with a purpose. We got to see Thanos again. He got a line. I've noticed that the trailers, all of the trailers for Avengers, the very first one was hopeless. It was Tony about to die. It's everybody mourning the people that they've lost. And
the positivity
every trailer has increased the hope, and now we're to the point where it's like, yes, now somehow the Avengers have a way to beat Thanos, or they are ready to fight him again. And we didn't have that feeling in the very first trailer. Like, we're getting as ready for that final battle as they are.
Well, to put a timestamp on it, you're so invested in the Marvel movies. Let me hear what do you think is going to happen in Endgame? I know you've thought about it.
No. So,
my theory.
A couple things.
And you're like, I have 300 theories. This or this or this could happen. It's 3 hours and 2 minutes, so I've got a lot of time for things to happen.
Including just the people whose contracts are over. So, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth. I don't know where Mark Ruffalo sits. Scarlett Johansson. Like, I don't know where they sit, but the main people, I think, in order for Mark Ruffalo to be able to step away, Banner is going to come to an agreement with Hulk, and we'll always see Hulk form, but Banner's mind. And so that way they can change Banner, but not take out the Hulk, because he can't really die. I also think... and so with that, I think we'll see Professor Hulk, which will be really fun. With Cap and Iron Man are the two biggest wild cards, because everybody's expecting them just to die, and I don't think it's going to be that easy, because everybody's already expecting it. You have to twist it up somehow. And so I think Cap is going to get through it all, and then they're going to find a way to time travel, and he's going to ask to go back to 1945, and the last thing we'll see from him is Dancing with Peggy. Iron Man is such a tough one, because I could see them really hurting him, like he's wheelchair ridden or something like that. He can no longer be Iron Man, and he just pops up. He becomes the new cameo person along with Stan Lee. I also could see him dying in Peter's arms, because one, it's a complete flop from the previous movie, and that will be the audience's Uncle Ben moment for Spider-Man. Because we just heard like one or two lines about his Uncle Ben. I think that's going to be the moment that breaks the audience as much as it breaks Peter Parker, because that's like his new father.
Ooh. We've heard how emotional this is going to be.
I don't know what's going to happen with Thanos. I don't know anything about that. Those are my theories just for a couple of the characters. Thor is really up in the air. He could come back at any point. He could die. I think Chris Hemsworth said that they're still kind of up in the air because they rejuvenized his character with Thor Ragnarok, so they have a lot more options now and a lot more freedom.
I like it. But tell me about our newest character, though, Captain Marvel. What did you think of her?
I'm curious how they're going to use her in Avengers, because Captain Marvel presented her as the Superman of the Marvel Universe, where everybody's fighting Thanos, and then she just comes in, hits him once, and then that's it. And so it'll be interesting to see how they utilize her and her powers in a way that doesn't overpower her.
Do you think she'll hit more adversity this time around? You get downloaded with so much information in the first movie, and you're mainly just kind of on that adventure. When it comes to Endgame, do you think they're going to expand her even further? Because this was just so centralized in that time era, you couldn't expand out. There was nothing to have been done yet. You were only focusing just strictly on her, versus now when she is around everybody else, now you're looking at the whole MCU. Obviously, there's got to be somewhere they're going to take her somewhere else. But is this going to be? Are they going to do that in this short amount of time? Because even though the movie's 3 hours, she's still going to be around for a while. So they have to. Her entry point into this has to land somewhere where she can work with what she's got, but she has to grow. We've only seen one movie out of her.
I think one thing that's going to make that easier for the audience too is, and for the Avengers as a team, it'd be different if Captain Marvel came down when everything was okay, and she's like, "Hi, I'm Captain Marvel. I'm awesome." Versus her coming down to a distress signal. Everybody's already in. Fury, you've worked with him. You're a good person. Let's work together. And I don't think there's going to be much time of, is she, isn't she? I think it would be a quick scene of, do we trust her? Well, she knows Fury. All right, she's good. And then throughout the movie, we'll see a shift of power as like Iron Man and Cap hit their peak, and Captain Marvel kind of comes in behind them and helps them save the day. Because I think she's going to be the new leader of the MCU, of the Avengers. And then Spider-Man is going to be the tech guy.
I like it. I'm excited for this next phase, but I'm more excited about Endgame. We're almost there.
We can't even begin to understand what the universe is going to be like after Endgame. so it's hard to theorize what could happen.
Oh
after
no,
Endgame.
it's exciting to. It's sad to see what's going to happen in terms of this is going to wrap up a lot of storylines for a lot of characters that we've grown into love for such a long time, and now we're basically starting fresh.
Yeah, but it'll be fun because it's not going to be the same thing over. It'll be different. They're moving to the cosmic side, so and they barely touched that with the Guardians. April honestly is just gonna be a huge month. I mean, April 1st was Twilight Zone. This week is Shazam. Next week is Hellboy, which I saw Shazam 2 weeks ago.
Really?
Yes, and it was really good. I was very surprised.
How did you manage to work your way into that?
Back when Aquaman came out, Amazon Prime did a special that if you bought tickets through them, you got to see it 2 weeks early. Fandango did the same type of thing with Shazam. And so we went to the VIP seats up on the balcony and went and saw it. And it was such a good movie, such a fun movie. And I think Zachary Levi killed it. I wholeheartedly think that with a good word of mouth, Shazam will break $1 billion. And if it does, then that puts DC on a good track.
I still don't have quite that disappointment taste of DC in my mouth as, when watching their movies, because I really did enjoy Wonder Woman. I really enjoyed Aquaman. And I'm excited to see what they do next. I'm just not quite completely sold on this yet. And I know it's getting to the point where I will buy in more. But yeah, there's a lot going on. I mean, Game of Thrones, Shazam, there's a lot of TV. TV's now going to start wrapping up now. We've got a lot.
Mm-hmm. So we haven't been given a title for the new Star Wars or a trailer. And I think that's because Disney wants to focus on the Avengers because everybody knows how big this movie is going to be. I think it surpasses Avatar.
Oof.
But I think that we'll get a Star Wars teaser before Endgame, like as a trailer for Endgame. Because what better way to trade off one super big excited piece of art than to introduce another.
The same company, might as well just keep pushing it down this pipeline.
We've got, basically, this week starts off blockbuster season. The blockbuster summer starts with Shazam, if you think about it. And then every week pretty much is something new.
Yes, I would really like to do a detailed preview soon. I need to catch up on them. The only one I know of right now is Endgame. That's the next big one for me that I definitely need to go see.
I'm planning on seeing Us either tonight or next week.
Please tell me how that is.
I've heard mixed reviews, but the good things I've heard are very good things. And the negative things I've heard are specific to it not being a quote-unquote horror movie as a psychological thriller, but that's what horror is now.
It has to be.
What Hereditary was.
It takes many forms. Horror takes many forms.
Yeah, now it's about bringing them into the situation, then the audience watching the situation, like a slasher film.
But I still love those slashers. It's hard to make a good one nowadays. That's why we rely so heavily on the classics. Oh, speaking of which, I need to ask you about the Bill Murray, Adam Driver zombie movie that I happened to watch a trailer for yesterday. I forget the name of it.
Is it they don't stay dead or something like that?
I believe so. It was a hilarious trailer. I didn't expect. It's a weird resurgence of zombies. This is something I don't know if they've just had in the vault for a long time and decided to release it now, or if this is something they've really been planning. But we haven't had something decent zombie-wise in a long time, and it's really cooled off in the last couple of years. So we're not quite getting the input, the output that we were of every week was a different kind of zombie incarnation TV show and something along those lines.
Well, Zombieland 2 is filming right now.
No, so that's one of those things where we're going to get two almost kind of funny zombie movies in the next year or so. I don't know if we're going more to the satire and making fun of it again thing, or... I mean, I still love my zombie horror movies. I still think that's still some of the most fun and intense that you can have in a
They're
horror
coming
movie.
To get you, Barbara.
It's not even that. It's the racial tension in that movie built along with everything else. And how that movie plays out, to me, still, it's just so classic. It opened your eyes to so many things. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my 28 days later and 28 weeks later zombies. I'm still waiting for my 28 months later. Let's get on this, because I don't care if it's in the works at Fox. Let's get this done, because in modern day zombies, that to me, those are the best ones still. The fear in those movies, I mean, the sheer fear that they put into you, even in both of them, it's the fast pace is just so much fun.
Now, I've got one last thing. Have you watched the latest trailer for Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark?
I have not.
Oh my god, you need to. The first trailer, the teaser trailer, was good. It obviously just teased, so it seemed like the movie was going to be a movie of anthological episodes, kind of like it was just going to be scary stories. But the latest trailer expands on that, and it's a story with stories intertwined, and it looks like an old school horror movie modernized well, just from the trailer. It looks really good. Definitely check it out, because I got really excited after watching it, and I don't get excited for horror movies that often.
No, I mean, even the ones that are out in theaters, I don't see a lot of them because none of them stick. You know, people get up and all antsy because they want to be scared for one weekend, but then you don't realize you've never see that movie again. It's so hard to make a classic horror movie, or even something that just sticks in terms of rewatchability. I mean, even if you see a horror movie now, it's hard to see it again. You don't have that same rewatchability that you had from your 80s and 70s horror films. I mean, I still think it's still a terrifying moment as the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Things like that brought to life are still iconic now. Though that 2005 one was just as scary as that one was.
The one that came out like 3 years ago was bullshit, but the 2005 one was good. I think that was the one with Matt Bomer, right?
Yes. I mean, it's the same with zombie movies. I mean, once George A. Romero kind of let go of that Day of the Dead type thing, it never really was the same. But even that, I still enjoyed his zombie movies. He's just one of those filmmakers. When he made something, you would just go and see it, or see it on video on demand. You just have those filmmakers, just like Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
I'll go see Jay and Silent Bob reboot. I'm excited for that.
Hands down, yeah. I think I've watched Silent but Deadly 6 or 7 times at this point. It's just a good background, because it's not pay attention to me funny. It's just stories, and it's
you can get lost
awesome
in the stories while doing it. But do you have anything else to add? I think that's it. I know we're gonna try and do one for Game of Thrones every week that we're gonna definitely want to break down. I want your expert opinion on it, and I'm sure the listeners want to hear your expert opinion as well too. So, but make sure you keep following us on Twitter, WTAE Podcast. I think you're putting out facts every day right now for Game of Thrones leading up. So when this podcast drops, make sure you go back and read all his fun facts and give us a follow, because we like to be interactive. Send us questions too.
You heard it here first. As always, I am B. Frank.
And I'm Travis.
And we are worth the admission.